I forgot what I was gonna say.
Usually it's around welcome
I'm just
to
sitting here
the-
waiting for you. Like, what have we done? Okay.
I had a mind blank, but now I remember what I was gonna say. Hello, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of Dual Dynasty, your weekly WWE review show here on the BC WrestlePod YouTube, Twitch, podcasting network, conglomeration syndicate thing we do every day of the week, except for Thursdays. Plus more. I don't know. We're just gonna find ways to keep adding things.
Now without Thursdays. That's the thing.
Now without Thursdays. Well, except for this week, which I'll get into at the very end of my spiel. Spoiler alert, we're pretty much doing something every single day this upcoming week, except for tomorrow. So
So no Mondays.
So no Mondays, at least for this week.
Man, we're working hard. Please subscribe. We're working hard. Please subscribe.
Seriously,
Yes, please. Fund us.
Honestly, starting next week is where we have something every single day until the end of April. So it's about to get buck wild. Stay tuned for next Sunday's episode of Dual Dynasty to get to the reveal of the schedule and who's doing what during WrestleMania Hell Week. It's going to be great. But I am your host, Mikey, and joining me this week for Dual Dynasty is, of course, the Professor and the Kiltus of Mans.
Kiltus of Mans.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I have these two beautiful bald bastards here with me this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are watching this.
Oh, you're too kind.
And we're here to talk about a Raw and SmackDown where some of us have feelings on certain things that happened this week, which we'll get into with all of that.
It's just strange. We'll talk about it. It's not. I don't even think it's London's fault because London was just excited, but we'll talk about it.
Lots of things happened, and we are going to discuss it right now. But before we get into that, if you like what you see on the screen, follow us all over the social medias where we do all sorts of fun stuff, like out of context clips that are totally not going to bite us in the butt when we apply for jobs or accept award shows and things like that.
Background checks and whatnot. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We have made it as internet personalities if people try to cancel us. I mean, we have
kind of right though. Yeah, no, that's the thing.
Very true. We also have some merchandise link in the description below if you want to cop some of that as well. We have a Patreon. But yeah, we just uploaded our report card for GCW's No Compadre. So shout out to our GCW correspondent Andrew, who is hard at work. And me and him are also going to be hard at work this upcoming Thursday for a different promotion. Wait till the end of this episode to figure out what that is. But we waste no time because we have a lot to say and lots of promo heavy stuff across Raw and SmackDown this week. I was very surprised of how promo heavy both episodes were. Also, we had 2 DQ finishes, which we're going to discuss as we go along with this episode. I'm like, you couldn't have spaced them out. Anyways, so
we'll talk about it. SmackDown kind of. I won't use the word I want to use, but they took their happy time, right? They just kind of sat in it for a long time.
They sat
yes.
in it. Oh, we will talk about that in a little bit. But we're going to start with the show that got in trouble with folks for using AI during one of their further promo segments. We're going to start with Monday Night Raw this week. So we kick off Monday Night Raw this week with Cody Rhodes and John Cena on the mic once again. I'm gonna be honest here. If you saw last week's Monday Night Raw where he roasted that kid, this is pretty much a copy and paste promo battle between these two, just in a different country.
And he's smart too because he knows that now the kid has been memed, so now he has all the leverage in the world, right? I love the internet sleuths turning the "you see me" thing into "you can see me, can't see me" thing, like "now you see me" thing, which is heavy and meta and all the things it needs to be. I don't know. I kind of like Evil John Cena. There's something about him that makes me like him a little more. I'm not sure what it is.
But again, this promo basically is, if you saw last week's promo battle between him and Cody, this is pretty much the same thing. But hey, you know what? It does the job that it's supposed to. We're still building towards this match, which is now confirmed to be main eventing night 2, which we'll discuss in our news section at the very end of the show. Because yeah, WWE, I love you, but you have, in the words of Ricky Ricardo, you have some explaining to do.
Wow, going back 70 years on that one. That's for the demographic. We'll see who gets that joke.
For reals. So again,
I got the joke.
So John Cena basically copy and paste his promo from last week. Cody Rhodes does the same thing for his response. These two go back and forth into the ring. Scene. Still interested. This is better. I'm going to be honest. Between the two main events that we're getting for night 1 and night 2, this is the one that I'm more interested in. The other one I have issues with, which we'll talk about when we get to SmackDown. So, moving on. So, despite the internet wanting it to be I Believe in Joe Hendry as Mr. Yeeter of Worlds himself, main event Jey Uso, we get into our first match of the evening, which is Jey Uso and a mystery partner versus A-Town Down Under. To nobody's surprise, it is his big brother, Big Jim Uso, coming up to team up with Jey in this match. And to nobody's surprise, the Usos pick up the victory. This time, it was not just 30 seconds for Austin Theory.
I just think they wanted to get the Usos out internationally, right? So they had to make this connection. They had to get this push. I heard the match was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. Was it all right?
I think go ahead.
It set up a little bit of slippage for Jey, kind of being in his head, and then an amazing promo at the end of.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there because that was the best part. This match was fine. I had no doubt that A-Town Down Under was losing this one, and it's the Usos. Literally, you're in international territory, so bring Jimmy and Jey out. Also, the differences between this year and last year is very nice to see both Usos being able to travel outside of the United States borders. Professor's like, damn.
I'm like, damn. It's amazing what courts can do. Damn.
For reals. The power that WWE has. So, well, it's the same thing we talked about like last summer too. It took a little bit, but it took Jacob Fatu some time to also be able to travel internationally last year as well.
All these guys got jackets and all kinds of things wrong in their past. Like, man. Goodness.
I mean, we all know that Logan Paul can't go back to Japan for a while.
I heard this legend.
Supposedly, until he's invited back, he's not allowed.
Wow.
Yeah, because of everything that went down with a certain forest.
Oh, that's right. That son of.
Yeah, so Jimmy and Jey pick up the victory here. At the end of the match, Gunther comes out to beat up Jey once again. Jimmy comes out with the chair, which forces, Gunther to retreat. And Usos, we're going to come back and talk about you in a little bit later in this episode recap of Raw, because now Liv Morgan is out here telling Dominic Mysterio to go for the Intercontinental Championship. Spoiler alert, I think Dominic's getting that chance at Mania. Stay tuned for when we talk about the main event of Raw this week. They're so gross. I love it.
It has that icky feel, just the screenshot by itself. It just feels. Yeah.
Raw knows what it's doing. It knows it's part of its demographic. AI is hitting even our professional wrestling scenes. Okay. So I want to
skip this.
So I'm going to be completely honest. I was on board with the shenanigans that was El Grande Americano, right? The stupid mask, the gimmick. I was here for it. Then I watched this. I need to know who thought in the writer's room and the creative team and the production team thought this was a good idea. They literally called the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
I'm not. Go ahead, Kill, before I say anything. Go ahead. You saw it. I didn't.
No, you're giving you the floor, Professor.
Go ahead. I don't mean to.
I think it's like they were making fun of it more accurately. It wasn't like they're trying to say, oh, yes, it is the Gulf of America. We're going to comply with someone we don't agree with. But it's definitely a situation of, oh, yeah, here's a joke. We're gonna throw this joke out there. It's kind of stupid. It's a big gimmick, but here you go.
They also, because again, the internet sleuths are great. Somebody used AI in this thing because the internet tore it apart. They're like, why are there 7 fingers on one hand? I'm like, not the AI. No.
I think that's the joke, though. I think, of course, a character like this is using AI. Of course, he's calling it Gulf of America. Of course, this is everything to be a troll job against that certain character and demographic and type of fan, right? He's blatantly made it this imperial conquest. I'm going to take things from other
Colonizer.
countries.
Kidding.
That's exactly what it is. So I get that there's some of the outrage, but I think it's just people angry. I think it's perfect. It's exactly what that character would do.
I mean, that's
AI
kind of
all their things, right?
right. I mean, that is very fair. And that kind of also shows up backstage here where Chad Gable can't compete tonight because he is quote unquote sick and he has a whole doctor's note and everything.
So great.
I was like, what are we in? Like 5th grade? Like we have a
USA
doctor's note?
Olympic team throwback crew neck sweatshirt. Yeah, this is all the gimmick.
Also, Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce, by the time we get to, I didn't include the picture, by the time we get into the episode where he's telling Bianca about her job next week, he literally had a justified crash out with all the shenanigans he had to deal with this week's episode. Like,
oh my god, I thought he was gonna burst a blood vessel.
for real. So I was like, Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce, I need you to calm down, sir. It's crazy. But yeah, so Dragon Lee is not having it, but Chad Gable's like, I can't compete this week. I'm sick with the whole tissues and everything. Has a doctor's note, but maybe Grand Americano will face him, and so that's going to be made later. But stay tuned for more of that when we get down to that match later in the episode. I'm gonna be real. I actually really dug this match. Lyra and Raquel Gonzalez for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Did I think Lyra was going to lose? No. Did I still like the match? Yes. Am I happy to see Raquel finally get back into the swing of things, coming back from her, immunocompromisable disease that she had last year that took her out of action for the majority of the year? Absolutely. I also love that Raquel is representing the Cholitas out there. She is so Sharpie girl, like Sharpie eyebrow girl, hot Cheeto girl coded, and I loved it.
She's not full like 2006 Sharpie eyebrow, but it's close. Like she still looks pretty good.
She is like long nails and perfume bottle out the purse away. But I actually really love this match. There's one thing that I have questions about though, because after the match, so Lyra retains, and Liv and Raquel begin to beat up on Lyra before she is saved by Bailey? ? And I'm like, so are you telling me that we might get Lyra and Bailey at WrestleMania? On the one hand, I'm like, cool, that might be fun. But on the other hand, again, we have no direction right now for any of these women's mid-card champions. I feel like Chelsea has more of a plot thread than Lyra does. And I don't know what's going on. I thought we were going to get Becky and Lyra at Mania for this title, but I guess not. And who knows? This might not even make Mania. We might get this on the Raw or SmackDown before Mania.
I think that's probably what it'll be.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think right now, all those egos are fighting for pieces of the pie for WrestleMania, right? And sadly, the women always get screwed, which is wrong, and it shouldn't be that. But then along comes Charlotte Flair, and now you got to make all this extra room for her.
Yeah,
I agree. I feel like there should be way more. I think Chelsea is getting a little bit of the development because she's funny and it's sketch comedy time when she shows up. Right.
she's so
Not
good.
too dissimilar. We said something similar with Harley Cameron, right? Where it was sort of like, where's she going? What is she doing? But for about 6 weeks there, it was like, all I want to do is watch her and what she's doing. Like you sort of carve out that section for yourself.
Yeah, when we get to SmackDown, I'm going to talk about a theory because I think we might see Chelsea either SmackDown before Mania or maybe at Mania, depending on what they want to do. I don't think she's leaving that SmackDown before or WrestleMania or even SmackDown after as United States champion.
Really? Oh, we'll talk about it. Interesting.
We didn't get to see her this week. When we get to SmackDown, I have a theory because I think a certain Miss Vega might be the upset here and actually take that title. And then I can fulfill my push Zelina Vega agenda.
Which we've been waiting for a long time. Yeah, for sure.
So We'll talk about it in a little bit. But it seems that Lyra's next quote unquote feud is going to be with Bailey, which I'm not upset about because Bailey is the workhorse. I don't care what nobody says. Like when Charlotte was gone pretty much all last year and a half, Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Moné is in a different company, and Becky Lynch is enjoying the, things of motherhood and everything. Bailey has been the one of those horsewomen to consistently be out here doing anything and everything. I was like, give Bailey her flowers. So why not let her feud with Lyra for a little bit?
I know, and I've given her a little grief on the mic because sometimes she's cardboard, and it seems like it's when she has to go off the fly, she has a little bit of a hard time. If you let her prep, she does really well. Like she kind of knows what she's getting into. She's really solid, especially if she's with someone who's really good off the cuff. But yeah, great worker. I think she gets a lot of heat that she doesn't deserve.
Yeah, so again, I'm excited for this, but this is going to be fun for sure. Alrighty, so moving on from this is where it gets juicy right here. So before this, we have Jimmy and Jay talking to each other. And Jay's like, you know what, man? I haven't been on my game. I haven't been able to get things right. I keep missing when it comes to Gunther. And Jimmy's like, bro, you need to get out your head. You need to get it together. You won the Rumble. Start acting like it. I was like, you go, Big Jim. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to do something. Hold up. Jimmy walks away from Jay, who pretty much either will probably heard this whole exchange go down. He goes down the hallway where Gunther is leaving. Jay's like, hey, man, what's up? He's like, I want to fight you on Monday. And so Gunther's like, go for it. I was like, I accept. Hopefully you'll do better than your brother Jay. And then Jimmy laughs and then bitch slaps the hell out of Gunther. That was like, yo, that was wild.
That was a slap and a half. It was like, damn. I was hoping... we'll get into one of the things I'm hoping in SmackDown, but the recoil and Gunther's reaction is like, holy fuck, he actually did slap me like a little bitch. It was so great.
Choosing the cement hallway for quite a brilliant choice. I actually thought it was sort of a meh promo until that moment. And when you look at it, Gunther's sort of waiting a little bit. There's that hint of hesitation, sort of like, I wonder if something's coming. But he crushed him in the face. Like, that was a full power slap. I'm not sure Gunther. It wasn't. Gunther kept his composure, but he did have that checkout moment. You almost catch it in the screenshot where he was like, damn, that was hard. Like, you almost see the commentary happen after that. That was wild. I saw the replay of this throughout the week, and even on SmackDown when they showed it a second time, I was like, oh my god.
I was like, I agree. And the choice to just the slap reverberating in this cement hallway was so good. So we are getting Gunther and Jimmy on Monday, which we'll talk about when we preview what we got coming to Monday Night Raw. So good job, boys, all around. Hopefully this is where Jay's story picks up a little bit more. And then next 4 weeks, we could be like, all right, Jay, let's do this. We got this. It's going to be great. Grand Americano beats Dragon Lee by ripping off his mask. And even though I cannot see the face, dare I say, Dragon Lee, you can get it.
I think this was very... Okay, the whole match was relatively all right. And, they're trying to rip each other's mask off. Okay, cool, I understand that. And then Dragon Lee loses his mask. I don't know. It's just something inside of me said, I don't like this. This was not the ending they should have gone with. They shouldn't have gone with a mask rip. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let me break this down. So on the one hand, I agree with you, Kilt. I think demasking is a trope in 2025 that, is overused, in my opinion. However, and I know where Professor might go when his comments in this, but Professor can tell me I'm wrong about this. For Chad Gable, aka Grand Americano, who is literally gringo turned luchador, it kind of makes sense for him to defile the sacredity of lucha libre and what the mask means into that art form. So literally perk angle lucha libre luchador coded here. It kind of makes sense for the character to kind of be dishonorable and things like that, which is crazy because people make the argument, and because I cover CMLL, I've actually learned a lot from Adolfo and watching CMLL and reviewing it on a weekly basis. Even the quote unquote bad guys in CMLL, the rudos, don't even do it that often unless it's a mass versus match, which we saw 2 weeks ago, which was kind of wild. But even still, it kind of makes sense for Grand Americano to do this. But I digress.
I think both things can be true. And now you're getting into which we can talk about because wrestling's been around long enough, sort of the anthropology and the ritual of the characters and the things that we create and all those things. Yeah. An imperialist like Grand Americano doesn't care about the rituals of other places. He's just going to do things that are disrespectful. And I think what's good, if there was like the subtle wink to the audience and making it a satire, that'd be one thing. I think since he's all the way in on the character and who this horrible person who is Yes America Bad is, I think it works. On the other hand, I actually agree with Kilt. That's rough to do that to Dragon Lee. Like, why are you doing that to Dragon? Like, that guy just paid his dues to get to here. Right? So what's tough is now Dragon Lee is sort of taking that bullet ceremoniously for a future Rey Mysterio or Fenix or Penta type of match, right? Not that Dragon Lee isn't bigger, but one that they could build a bigger marquee to, right? What I am glad to say is that at least we're past the sort of Mark Merrow mask days, right? It means something to WWE, right? Kane kind of changed that, but that was wearing a mask because he was fugly, and then eventually we buried it fine. But now it's the mask means something in WWE over the last few years, which is great. And Mysterio, of course, but now we can play with it some. Now we can mess with it some. But if we could tread that water, and I think Triple H is smart enough to know we're not going to be disrespectful because we want that Mexico ticket. We want to send Andrade back to Mexico City. Like, we want to do those things. And now you have a little bit more leverage. Grande Americano fighting in Mexico City. Can you imagine the hatred? Just the pure evil of that. Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. So, dare I say, I am interested to see where we go next with Grand Americano and how. I'm interested to see how, well, obviously, we probably have to wait till we get back to the States, but I'm interested to see how this goes into American made and all that good stuff. Of how this is going to be there. But again, as I always say, we shall see. Punk is in the building in Glasgow. He cuts his promo. Literally, he works with children, which, you know, is a reference to what he said during the Brawl Out 2020, like 2021 fight in AEW, and also his incident with Jungle Boy Jack Perry as well. But basically, he says there's going to be a contract signing on Friday. We'll see you there on SmackDown. I'm like, good to know, Punk. Good to know.
Thank
I'm
you
just
for
happy to see
our
Punk.
update from our in-ring analysis, CM Punk.
I love looking back and hearing this promo now after watching SmackDown. The wink and the nod in SmackDown to a similar incident was hilarious. We'll talk about that in a second.
So Punk lets us know there will be a contract signing for a triple threat on SmackDown. See you there. I'm like, good to know. Good to know, Mr. Punk. We get a preview of what's to come next week, where we have Cody and John Cena facing off again. Hopefully, we get an actual we get another back and forth between the two of them. We have Io defending her championship against Rhea with Bianca Belair as special guest referee, which screams we're about to officially make this a triple threat at Mania. Just give it to us. Kilt has feelings on that.
The TikToks Bianca has been doing during her, her referee training.
It's ridiculous.
Hysterical. I'm like, she's really leaning into this really well, and I'm loving every second of it.
Bianca's, I mean, I Bianca has the charisma, but I also think that the evolvingness of her personality in the social media probably also has to do with who she's married to because Montez is just a cornball 100% of the time, but that is like not in the bad way. We love him for it. I love Montez. Literally, even if it was only 6 episodes, Montez's relationship with Bianca is hilarious in their own little show, especially when he walked through the lobby with a sewn-in wig in the hat to go get something without causing a crazy fans to swarm him. And they're both great. I love them. We also get Logan Paul finally in person responding and calling out AJ Styles after, New York, which was weeks ago, but hey, you know what? It is what it is.
I just realized we can watch Raw at 12 o'clock tomorrow.
Yes, we can, because they are
Sorry.
international.
I was listening. I just was looking at like, wait a minute.
No, that is fair. It's like lunchtime for most of us. And then we get Big Jim Uso versus Gunther next week, non-title match, or tomorrow night on Raw, I should say. So this is going to be fun. We are still in London for Raw, so this is going to be fun. We get into the main event, which is for the Intercontinental Championship, where we have Bronze Breakker taking on Mr. Penta El Cero Miedo, or just Penta in WWE. And I was excited for this match. Did I think it was going to end cleanly? No, because I don't see Penta or Braun losing. While I understand and I'm not as mad on this DQ, I still hated how we got to a DQ finish. So technically, Braun gets to keep the title, but because of Judgment Day shenanigans, as we get towards the tail end of the match, Dominic and Judgment Day interfere, causing disqualification with the whole chair incident. They tell Penta, to join them by hitting Braun with the chair. Penta decides to use the chair against Dominic. We have the Judgment Day boys come out to beat up both Braun and Penta in this whole fiasco. And Monday Night Raw goes off the air with Judgment Day standing over a beaten up Penta. And in my mind, I'm like, fatal 4-way. If not at Mania before, I think it's going to be Dominic, Finn, Braun, and Penta in that match. But Dominic, I was like, Finn, fine, sure.
Dominic, Finn, Braun, and Penta?
And Penta, yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. Finn Penta would be incredible. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, where do you put it though? Is it the go home show, or is it, what do you think?
On the Mania card, right?
You think it's on Mania?
I think for so because it's Braun, well, okay, if I'm looking at the 4 of them, honestly, I think it would be smart to have at least that mid-card title on Mania, only because I think Penta at Mania would be nuts.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But I can also see it on the Raw before Mania as well. That's the thing. It's really hard because we know what our 4 championship matches are. We have the triple threat between Roman, Punk, and Seth also at Mania. We have our main event matches. Now we got to figure out which mid-card matches are making the show. So, and again, we won't know which match is on. Well, we know which main events are on which night, but we also know when we get to SmackDown, a certain Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, we also know when that match is happening too. So that's going to be interesting. But that has been Raw recap for this week. So now we go over from Glasgow, Scotland to the UK in London, England, where we will be talking of the Friday night Smacketh of Downs. Simon Miller, I love you. Anyways, so we kicked Friday Night SmackDown off from London, from the UK, with this opening segment with Cody Rhodes coming out talking about, John Cena and his match at WrestleMania, where Cody officially confirms that him and Cena are main eventing night 2. And Randy Orton comes out and is like, listen, man, like I'm gonna be honest with you. Once you finish your business with Cena, I want a shot at that title. And I was like, there we go. We've been teasing this for a year. Randy and Cody. Drew McIntyre comes out and he basically says that it should have, he literally Dolph Ziggler did, and he's like, it should have been me. But Drew comes out. He talks about had it not been for Damian, he would have been the one to face Cody Rhodes. I'm like, finally, now we are getting the official in a promo build between Damian and Drew. So now the internet can stop crying about it. And I'm just like, y'all just don't want to see y'all don't want to see a foreigner and a Latino man succeed, but I digress. Anyways,
I mean,
so Drew comes out, he interrupts the promo, gives his reasoning. Randy tries to RKO him, but Drew's like, nah, bro. And that ends up setting up a match between Drew and Randy later in the evening. So I was like, yes, Randy versus Drew. This actually might be a fun match on SmackDown.
I think Cody said what 7 words in his whole promo.
Yep.
If he got that, literally, he comes out 10 minutes later, he says something. Randy comes out 30 minutes later. Randy gets to say a piece. 5 minutes later, he gets to say another piece. 13 minutes later, he gets to say another. It literally this whole promo took up the entire. It's one of the reasons why I only got halfway through SmackDown this week, because I got so just promoed out and I was just tired of watching.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to say this word, so I'm not. I'm not saying boring. I'm saying inflated. And
we could have cut some lines and it still would have gotten the message across.
Because it affected the matches, even though this thing was cut for time. And it has the 12-hour London edit, whatever, that I saw on my streaming service. These took forever. And this isn't the only one. There's probably, I don't know, this is a 3-hour SmackDown. There's 2 hours of promos in this, backstage segments and other things. And in my opinion, only one of them really hit the way it was supposed to. And that was only the first 30 seconds of it. So that was really unfortunate.
Right. We'll talk about it. I feel like me and Professor are going to disagree what our favorite promos were from the evening, but I don't care. But anyways,
my favorite section was 30 seconds of one far off and near the end, and it was perfect.
Okay, we'll talk about it right there. But I am well okay with having a discussion too, because there's certain things that I liked, but certain things I'm like, we'll get.
It's fine. We talk about this too all the time, right? Sometimes is it a wrestling show? Is it a soap opera? This was soap opera.
This was soap opera. Did a soap opera. It definitely was. So, without further ado, we close out this segment, and then SmackDown just decided, okay, let's just throw everything in the middle of the show now, really quickly, because I'm kind of mad this wasn't down later in the hours. I'm just gonna be upset. But the first official match was for the WWE World Tag Team Championships, in which we had the Street Profits taking on the hometown boys of Pretty Deadly. This was a fun 11-minute match. Street Profits win clean, no shenanigans, no people coming out. I was like, damn, Pretty Deadly. But they also look really good in this match too. I'm not gonna lie. This is fun.
This is probably no, it was it was a match or two after this where I stopped watching. But I did skip a good bit of this, but it was actually, I enjoyed it.
I love the more toughest and vicious Pretty Deadly that we're starting to get. Yep. I don't think we'll ever lose Pretty Deadly. I hope we never lose Yes Boy. I think we're going to see something more, I don't want to, something a little angrier. Something's going to shift away from crop tops and ponytails, I think. But they're still going to try and keep the kernel of what they have as this goofy wrestling thing. I don't know what it's going to be, but they're going to attempt it. This was great. And I know I said last week I didn't want the Street Profits to lose because you don't want to have your only 2 people of color in a tag team be a transitional champion right out the gate. But I had the last 3 minutes of this. I was like, oh my God, they might do it. They might do it. They might do it. No. And that was tough.
It definitely was. However, because of how they structured the match itself, by allowing Pretty Deadly to be, show a glimmer of what they were like in NXT UK as tag team champs were great. And honestly, if they play their cards right down the line, I would not mind if we ran it back again between these two. Give them like 15 minutes instead of 11. Like, be fantastic.
They could absolutely do it.
Oh, absolutely. So this is a fun match. We also got an unadvertised match where the Secret Hervis, Piper Niven and Alba Fire take on Caden Carter and Katana Chance. And yeah, so the Secret Harvest do pick up the victory here. Poor Kate and Katana. I was like, poor girls.
Yeah, that's too bad. This was fun. It was quick too. This was only 4 or 5 minutes. This was not very long.
It wasn't a very long match, but
The
hey, you know
walkouts
what?
were longer, it felt.
For reals. Ugh.
Now, the funny part was, sorry to interrupt, but the one thing I've noticed is I keep forgetting her name, but she always does TikToks with Damien.
Kaden.
Okay. I haven't seen her in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Is she coming back from injured, or has she just kind of like been kind of sidelined for the most part?
Kaden and Katana have been Kaden and Katana have been kind of like not been utilized in the last couple weeks. I know last time we saw them, Katana has been wearing a face mask for the last couple months because she broke her nose in the middle of the match. So obviously they didn't want her to damage it even more. But even after that, they kind of haven't utilized them. They got moved over to SmackDown like 2 months ago, but now we're finally seeing them on television. But they are being utilized to put over Piper and Alba and Chelsea's whole little faction, which I'm not mad at. It's just I hope those two can do more outside of their TikToks and social media stuff. I want to see them actually. They're a legit women's tag team, and we need more women's tag teams on this main roster.
No, I definitely agree with that, because I've said this before. The women on this roster are phenomenal. They have been outperforming their male counterparts time and time again, except for like one or two. But it's been one of those things where it's like I'm looking at it. I think we had this conversation in the group chat where there's no women main card on WrestleMania. There's no main event women's
none of the women's matches that we have so far are main eventing either night. They'll probably end up being the semi-main event, and like the Mania that I got to go to in Los Angeles, Rhea and Charlotte should have main evented instead of the Usos and Sammy and Kevin. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that match, but Rhea and Charlotte burnt the house to the ground in that match. It was so good. So, but the Secret Service does pick up a victory here. We continue with this whole faction, which I love. I'm interested to see the direction that we go into next. You couldn't have spaced out another DQ finish, because this was a United States Championship match between L.A. Knight, taking on the not my words, but literally what is on his shirt.
Big SOB.
Yes, the big SOB and Braun Strowman. We get like 9 minutes into this match, and then it is caused by a DQ by the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu. I'm like, damn, y'all couldn't have waited till the following week to DQ us. But I'm like, if you're not going to let Braun actually fight and lose cleanly for this title, like, what was the whole point of the last like 3 weeks that we've had these two interact? Like, what is going down?
I don't know what your two's impression of this match was. I thought LA Knight and Braun were working fine together. They worked really well together.
Oh, I agree.
I thought they were great. There were 2-3 times where Braun did not help LA Knight at all. That half back suplex thing, Braun didn't jump. He didn't do nothing. He just stood there, and poor LA Knight got halfway and just collapsed because Braun's massive. And then there was something else where I was like, Braun's not helping him at all. And my only knowing the finish and knowing the end was like, oh, I think he was a little meh about how this was going to end. He was still a professional. He still did the match. He still sold it. He did what he had to do. But this was sort of, we did this match to further along Fatu's story in a DQ than we did for the two people who were in it. So I think the two of them were a little, okay, but at least we're in London. That's just what I saw. They did work great together. They were doing fine. But Braun was like, I'm not taking a full back. I'm not taking a full this. I'm not, that's just kind of what I saw.
Yeah. So, Jacob, we're going to talk about you in a little bit, but happy to see LA Knight with the championship. I'm interested to see where we put him on to the road to Mania. Like how, so again, some of these mid-card titles have to go on Mania. You can't just not have them on there. So also I'm going to be for real, as much as I had dreamed about seeing the tag team championships at Mania. I don't think any of our tag champs are making the Mania card either, because they never ever put the tag. Well, I can't say never, because they put Jimmy and Jay versus Kevin and Sammy main eventing night 1 of Hollywood WrestleMania 3 years ago. But even then, that was because it was tied up in Bloodline storyline.
Because it was all Bloodline stuff. I don't think it's impossible. You have 19 days to figure it out or something like that. I don't know.
You have 3 weeks. So the WrestleMania is in 3 weeks, which is crazy to say. Oh gosh. Anyways, so Jimmy is pulling double duty this week. He gonna slap the taste out of Miz's mouth as he goes to find Nick Aldis to have a match with Miz later. Jimmy stands on business, and I'm here for it.
Did you see how far Miz flinched?
Yes, it was so good.
I wanted him to pop. I wanted Jim just to pop him twice for flinching. Like, it was like, whoa! I'm like, hey, 2 for flinching. Like, God damn.
Quickly tap and be like, psh, psh.
Yeah. It's just like, smack. And Mello just like, the fuck you doing?
Mello, okay, so this is gonna sound really bad, but this pairing of Miz and Mello, this is literally Mello translating, like, quote unquote, the street talk to Miz. It's like, bro, what are you doing? You don't talk to Jimmy like that. He gonna pop. Jimmy is about that life. He will pop you, like, for reals. But I kind of like it. I don't know, but this sets up Miz and Jimmy's match later down the evening. I love when they just let Jacob do whatever. Like, don't give him a script. Just let him be literally the street Samoan that he is. And you know what? Jacob made some good points too. It's just like, you get mad at me, but y'all weren't tapping in with me last week. What's that about? And so Solo and Tama are trying to control Jacob, and Jacob just tells both of them, it's just like, I'm going to handle my business with Braun. I'm going to be the last man standing. I was like, last man standing match confirmed. Got it. And I'm about to get this United States title with or without you.
Yeah.
But like, camera working and scenes are specifically telling Solo that he gonna do this without him.
I get why we're slowly ripping off the Band-Aid. We got to get all the mileage out of this as we can, because we're never going to get it back. Once this dissipates, we're not going back to Bloodline probably ever again. So we're trying to just downplay this. And they don't have a plan for where Solo goes. They don't have a plan for Tama or Tonga. Sadly, when really 2 years ago we went, oh, it's going to be Guerrillas of Destiny and Solo. Look at how far we've come.
We were so wrong. The trajectory was way off.
Fatu Roman and then Big Jim, and like, we're nowhere near where we once were. Fatu's the one that has all the momentum and could turn face anytime depending on how they book him and what they do. So I don't think they were expecting Fatu to show up and less than a year later become that guy. Or has it been a year? We've been about a year now, right?
It's been less than a year.
Yeah, I don't even know timeline wise. I'm very intrigued in what Fatu does, and sadly, that's at the expense of Solo and the Guerrillas.
Yeah. So again, whether it makes the Mania card, I'm pretty sure Knight and Fatu are gonna come to a head somewhere in the next 3 weeks or even afterwards. So I dig the outfit, girl.
This was really good.
I'm biased. But I also am not a person who doesn't believe in hearing others out. But this was probably my favorite. But that's because this is what I've wanted from Naomi since she was in the company. Like, I love the Feel the Glow. Don't get me wrong. It tapped into my raver roots as a person who is in the rave scene. But I love this now proceed with caution chapter. And I think this is a change that was sorely needed for Naomi to be able to elevate herself, quote unquote, to the next step in her WWE career.
This was the villain turn.
Yes.
Right? We had heel turn.
Done in a great way. It wasn't like, it's crazy. Go ahead.
What's great is, and you as a writer, I'm sure you understand this too. And this is a big comic book thing. This works in lots of other media. This works in movies and whatever else. If you can get your audience to have that hint of empathy for the villain, where it's not so much I feel sorry for them, but I go, oh, I know why they're doing it. Now it's even worse. It's like, oh, I'm not rooting for you, but I feel bad that you're doing all these horrible things or whatever that arc is.
And with any medium too, like I say as a writer, if you can make your reader or your watcher or whatever medium it is not agree with them, but if you as the person who is reading this dialogue or looking at this character and be like, I don't agree with it, but I see where they're coming from and some of these points are justified, you have written a well-rounded villain. Like those are the scariest ones in general, because you're like, I'm not supposed to root for you, but I know where you're coming from and you have some sort of validation for doing what you're doing. Oh my God. I was like, and then you start to question yourself. Oh my God, am I rooting for the villain here? That's crazy.
Absolutely right. I thought she nailed this promo. I love the film acting quality of it. I love the soft tears, as they say in the industry. Like it was really genuine. Naomi's figured it out. Go take classes from Naomi or whoever Naomi's getting coached from. This was fantastic.
I was just like, I loved it. This is great. This makes me super excited for Proceed with Caution Naomi. So also, I need to know who's either is someone's making these outfits or she's doing them herself, because I know she can do both. But like,
Man, I don't know. They're pretty.
Her ring gear last couple weeks have been crazy. I love them.
The first time I saw it, I was like, that's a little slapdash. I think she could do better. This one was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, you made a whole feel. All right.
Naomi, you did the damn thing, girl. And also, I love that social media is like, yes, queen. Let's elevate. Okay, so this could be a whole other podcast, but I love seeing the internet support, the elevation of Black women in wrestling too. Now I'm ready for it to be the men's turn too, because we don't see that often. Because I don't see the loud support for like the Profits doing what they're doing, like we see with Naomi. But neither here nor there.
We had it. And they killed it.
Yes, they did. And I was just like...
And we had it for like a year. And then we didn't know what to do with Bobby, so we dragged everyone down for another year. And now they got to start all over again.
Yeah, so... But Naomi, damn good job, girl. You did fantastic. Love this promo. I do recommend everybody go check this out. This is a really good 2-minute pre-tape promo. Fantastic. Charlie beats Michin. That is all I have to say. Well, this was also too. Naomi attacks Meechib and BFAB before this too. So next. Oh, Tiffy. Girl, I love you. Now we got slight NXT Tiffany Stratton vibes here, but I needed to fully come out, girl. Because you can't, because right now Charlotte is kind of leading the polls, so to speak, in the, who's winning this feud. I'm Jackie right here in this picture interviewing Tiffany. Is like, I know you could do it, Tiffany, but
I don't know. This one didn't hit the way that she wanted either. Charlotte just crushed her in that one promo, and all the momentum, quote unquote momentum, swung the other way. Right? I think she has it in her. I think she's stuck.
I do too.
She's being coached. Your face, you have to be good. You have to do this. Let her run a little. She'll find it.
Let her be mean girl Tiffany. You can still be a face and be mean girl. Have Tiffany present yourself like, I'm not going to take your shit. I don't care if you're the queen or not, Charlotte. I am the champion, and I am going to prove it to you. I don't care what you say or do, because I'm going to whoop yo.
Tiffany's going into Money in the Bank. Those promos, right? Just crushing people. Like, do it.
Again, I'm not saying low-hanging fruit, but sometimes you need to bring that out. Talk about her failed marriage with Andrade. Like, literally, be a mean girl about it, because Charlotte, since being on the main roster, is different form of mean girl. She goes to the Ric Flair school of promos where she I don't want to say intellectually, but she'll cut you deep, but she does it slow and methodical. Tiffany, you are literally, the plastics from Mean Girls. Just go straight for the jugular. Don't be smart about it. Just be like, you're ugly. You're this. You're that.
And I can't remember who it was, but women wrestling talking about how we're trying to bring each other up. We're trying to help each other. How much of this is cutting each other down and not supporting each other?
Right.
And how not all women see it the same way. Some of them still see it as I have to crush you to get my spot type of world. I wonder how much of that is in there. Sort of, I don't want to cut you down. I want to raise you up type of thing. Or
Right.
if they're trying, like, there's so much more that goes into it for sure. But you're right. Something's missing. This isn't the aggro Tiffany we had for so long, which is fine. I do like her as champion. She's going to be she's a Hall of Famer. We all see it. But I'm wondering, there's something behind the scenes. I almost feel like.
Right. So we have 19 days. Hopefully they will do something to pick it up a little bit. I'm still interested in the match, but maybe this year's Mania could be a good learning lesson of how to reconfigure like what we do with Rumble winners and the build. Maybe not have the Rumble be at the beginning of the year. Maybe have it like a month before Mania, and then honestly, I would be fine if they have Rumble at the beginning of the month and literally like 2 or 3 weeks before Mania have Elimination Chamber as like the literal last chance to get a match together.
I think I want to kind of expound a little bit. I think it should be Rumble 2 months before WrestleMania, Chamber 30 days before WrestleMania. That way you have a lot of time. It's still a lot of time, but it's like you have to kind of like do the struggle package almost of planning out the storyline to get to WrestleMania, and it'll be a whole lot better. It'll be less dragged out. It'll be less, kind of like, okay, how can we do this, and kind of like less thready.
Also, I think in storyline wise, for me personally, if I were writing this, I would do respective brand of whoever the winner is on, like don't wait a couple weeks. You literally have them declare the next show after the pay-per-view. So like for Jay and Charlotte waited like 2 to 3 weeks to declare who they were going after. I think to make it more interesting, you should make them declare right there. You have your Raw, SmackDown, and honestly, I would even have even though they wouldn't pick it, have your NXT champion of the men's and women's division there. All three of them in the ring. Have them, list things off of why I can choose you, and then make them choose then and there. Like, don't drag it out, because then you get, like we've seen it this year so far, like Jay picking Gunther. That was cool because he couldn't get one over Gunther before that. But now we've seen like the last 4 weeks of Jay getting beat up by Gunther most of the time. It's not compelling. And then Charlotte dragged it out for 2 weeks, going to NXT and Raw and SmackDown to scout out the competition. When, girl, we knew you were going to pick Tiffany. Let's be all the way 100. And so this build for that has not been working out either. This could be a whole other conversation that we can have. All to say is I need that fire in this storyline to make me go from, okay, this might be a cool match, to, oh my gosh, I'm super excited. Like I am for Io and Bianca, and the possibility, which we're probably going to get, is Rhea being added into that. Like that has me more interested than this one. And that's sad because I want to be interested in both. We move on because I could be here all day. Aleister Black. I'm excited. I'm so excited. I don't care. These vignettes are getting crazier, and I'm excited. He is scheduled to be on SmackDown the SmackDown after Mania, which, is what we're teasing. So I'm excited. I'm ready for Daddy Darko over here to make his WWE re-debut. Speaking of which, we get into this match now where Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre actually put on a pretty good match. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Kevin Owens causes a distraction, which allows Drew to beat Randy Orton. And Randy wants to kill Kevin, which I was like, same. And we find out that this match will also be on night 1 of Mania. So I would not be surprised if KO and Randy open it, which would be a smart move to do.
That would be really smart to do.
Absolutely.
So let's get the head punting out of the way and then move on.
Yes. Next week, Rey Fenix will be making his debut on SmackDown. I'm like, yes.
And Tessitoro butchered the name. Went right to Phoenix, not Fenix. Like, oh, come on.
Tessitoro, you are literally an Italian man. Get it together.
He knows. He knows.
Who's announcing SmackDown? Because it was weird. It was a weird voice.
It's this new guy they hired. I don't have no idea who he is, but I'm gonna give him a couple weeks because I'm gonna be honest. We literally are replacing Lillian Garcia, so because she was only filling in part time.
Yeah, and the weird part about it is he had some of his inflections were sounding almost like Alicia, and I was like, wait a second, no, what's going on here?
Joe Tessitore was a boxing guy. He's been doing boxing for about 30 years. He's an ESPN guy, lots of sports analysis stuff. He's jumped around. He also hosted Wipeout at one point.
That's right. I forgot
he
about
hosted that and then like a few other the golf show, Steph Curry's golf show. He was a host for a while too. So
there's Joe. Then we have a new announcer for SmackDown. I would need to look up his name, but I think he's good. They moved Alicia Taylor to Raw, who is killing it right now on Raw. She's so damn good. I love her. And then we have Mike Rome got sent over to NXT, but Mike is great at NXT. I love him too. So
I still miss Corey though. I like Corey a lot.
Corey is on commentary on NXT. So it's him, Vic Joseph, and Booker, which is a very interesting trio of people. Booker, I love you, but you are so horny on main half the time for some of these matches. It is wild to hear his commentary. I was like, you jucking and shaving from Master out here. It's not correct, Booker. I love you, but damn. Tell me I'm wrong, because half the time I love Booker T, but I was like, bro, you looking like you playing for Master, you chucking and jiving for Master out here with your commentary.
Oh man, I haven't heard that phrase since I was in Chicago. Damn, that's been a minute. Wow.
I probably got us canceled, you guys. I'm sorry. Hey, I could say I am Latino, okay? I calls it as I sees it. I will do the same thing if I see any Latino or Latina superstar playing into the stereotypes. I'm going to call your ass out. I'm sorry. But I'm excited for Rey to make his debut on SmackDown. I'm interested to see who he goes up against. And with him making his debut, I'm like, by the end of 2025, y'all know we go about to get the Lucha Brothers. And WWE has confirmed that is what they will be called when they get paired together. So I'm ecstatic. I'm excited. Please don't screw this up. SmackDown. Triple H, don't screw this up. Please. Jimmy beats Miz. That is all. Literally, I have nothing else to add. Damian Priest. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about this whole segment before we get into this.
I love this. This is the one I was talking about. Only for what's about to happen after this.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre has a run-in with Louis Capaldi, of all people, UK, singer-songwriter, out here making the Make Me Go Cry music. And then he's interviewed as he's leaving the door. He's making fun of Damian Priest. He opens the door like a la Animaniac style with Drew opening the door, and who shall be there but bisexual Undertaker himself, Damian Priest. We get into a fight where these two fight around a vintage car, all for Damian to literally throw Drew into the car. And it is reported that Drew may have accidentally got glass up in his eyeballs too.
I thought that was a work.
I think so too, but I was just like,
overdid it so much so. What the thing that made me laugh? My dad, who worked in a body shop for 40 years. So I don't know cars like I should, but I know breakable glass. The fact that Drew is sitting there going, there's glass in my eye. And then we come back to Joe Tessitore going, there's glass everywhere. No, it's designed not to shatter. It didn't. We see it not shattering. That's how insurance companies and car manufacturers make glass like that. So it doesn't do what you're saying it does. Shut up. That took me out of it a little bit.
To be fair, like, we know what real glass breaking looks like. I'm looking at you, Darby Allin, and Jungle Boy, Crimea River.
And it's still dangerous if you're not wearing 4 layers of clothes and a leather jacket.
Yep. Still looking at you, Darby.
Yeah. To me, and I'm getting a little bit ahead, but I have to say this. The best part of this whole thing, seeing this was fine because, of course, Priest shows up because he called him the Timo Undertaker, which is hilarious. A good line that he dropped. The cameraman gets bonus points for us barely seeing Damian as that door opens and then just Drew getting crushed. That's great. the fact that the promo after this, CM Punk is walking
He's
to the
walking
ring,
by too, and he's smiling.
looks at it. The whole AEW thing flashes back, and you just see his mouth go, "That's too bad," and he keeps walking toward his car. Theater. It was brilliant the way they thought this through.
It
So
was
good.
so good.
So
I'm excited. This is honestly, now I hope the internet can stop crying about it, because now I'm like, yes, give me Damian and Drew. Well, I mean, I've been excited for Damian and Drew at Mania, but internet can
I
stop
was yelling
crying
at the
about it.
screen. I was like, someone say Cry Me a River. Someone say Cry Me a River.
Yes, do it.
Someone say Cry Me a River. I was waiting for it, and it just didn't happen. I was like, oh, what an opportunity to go Cry Me a River. Boom. Or anything.
I don't care. It would have even been funny if R-Truth be like, damn, man, cry me a river and walk away. Like,
anything. Like, it just goes to R-Truth, like, Cry Me a River. Right? Or he's listening to Cry Me a River.
Yeah.
And then walks away.
But yes, I am excited for Damian and Drew. This is going to be fun. But speaking of which, this leads into the final thing that closes out SmackDown this week. Okay,
This was 30 minutes.
I was like, Lord have mercy. I'm literally about to recap this in like 1 minute. So we could have cut this down to like 10. Honestly, we did not need a whole 30-minute.
And they didn't say anything.
No, this is giving me PTSD flashbacks of 2 summers ago when it was Bloodline taking over SmackDown and we had like hour-long promo sessions. I was like, what is happening? But we get this contract signing. So I'm going to recap this and then we'll discuss all our thoughts and feelings about everything that went down. So here's your 30-second recap of this promo. Roman Reigns actually making some points and roasting Seth Rollins out here, talking about what is this we are talking about? We died a long time ago. I've made WWE what it is. What have you done, Seth? I'm like, damn, that's kind of facts though. Not going to lie. But then we get CM Punk coming out. They all go across the table. This was a nice, sweet, genuine moment because I legit don't think Punk knew this, but Paul Heyman tells Punk that for the first time in his WWE career, he will be main eventing WrestleMania. So Punk is crying a little bit. Everybody signs the contract. Rowan is like laughing and chuckling it up and is enjoying it. Seth Rollins has a crash out session where he's like, no, he don't deserve a main event spot. And then we get to the end of this where Roman gets on the mic saying, this is like, you know what? I'm enjoying this. I love this. I'm glad that is the favor where you get to main event to Mania. Punk closes us out on this night by saying that is not the favor that Heyman owes him. And so that they leave us on a cliffhanger. I literally recap that in less than a minute and a half. We could have had that equal amount of time in this segment. It did not need 30 minutes.
Did not need 30 minutes. I get that they were in London. I get that there's the spectacle. These folks haven't seen them in a while live. Fine. I actually thought Seth was pretty collected. And like, we're playing the Roman as an egomaniac thing a lot, which is great. I don't have a problem with. Now we get to talk about what's the favor. Now we've brought that back into the mix. That was sort of, I don't want to say that was forgotten, but now it's forefront that this whole contract's been signed and everything else like that. I don't know if it's Heyman betraying Roman or if it's Paul Heyman looking the other way at an opportune moment, or something's going to happen. I don't even know if the favor is going to happen at WrestleMania. They might just lead this on for as long as possible. Triple threat means no rules, basically, right? Or was this just a normal match?
At this point, WWE plays like hard and fast with their rule set. I'm assuming triple threat is like anything goes, kind of.
Okay. Because it could be as much as, well, I don't know. I don't think they could reenact the Shield chair shot. They could have some of these other nods to betrayals and other things. Whatever CM Punk has in his brain, I'm sure, I hope it lands. I think he's got something big planned. But we didn't need 28, 29 minutes of this. This was super long. CM Punk got there, said what he said, boom, and it was done. Seth and Roman sat in this forever. Granted, the London crowd wants to sing, football crowd, that's what they do. I get it. But the bookends of the show were a third of the show. That's tough. So this was SmackDown as soap opera, which is unfortunate. Even though it wasn't boring to watch, inflated is the word that I used.
Yes. Yes, it is. So, this is where we learn that this match will be main eventing night 1. That does bring us to the end of our WWE review, but let's go over some news really quickly. So, as I mentioned, The first bit is we have our two main events set for night 1 and night 2. Shout out to Sportskita for giving us this information and this lovely little graphic. But night 1's main event of this year's WrestleMania is Seth versus Roman versus Punk. And then night 2's main event is Cody versus Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship. Cody and Cena makes sense. It's for a championship. I love that Punk is getting his main event, but unless we get a last minute, there's some stakes to this match. I feel like it shouldn't need to be in the main event, but then again, I have an archaic view of looking at main events should be where titles are on the line or something of importance is on the line. Do I think the match is going to be fun? Absolutely. It's going to be chaotic AF. Roman and Seth hate each other. This is literally a match built on hate and spite. Like, literally, that is what these three are giving. But it kind of feels weird that there's no stakes to it. Now, not all matches need those stakes, but main eventing, literally like the main pay-per-view of a wrestling company. This is like the Super Bowl of wrestling, if you will. So it's kind of weird. Cody and Cena makes sense. It's for the title. I'm excited that Seth, Roman, and Punk are fighting each other, but I feel like there needs to be more stakes involved to it.
I kind of agree, and they're really trying to force them. It doesn't even have to be a title for me necessarily, but there's got to be something really important. Hating each other is important. That's fine. What do you get? All you're getting is payday out of this now, or even if it was number one contendership,
right?
Anything,
something underneath would bring the craziness,
which we might find out.
This honestly should be match 1, night 2. Because this will set.
I agree.
This will set the tone for the rest of the night. Because that'll be the starter. Cody versus John Ender. It is 2 epic battles. Great. Yeah, it moves Jay and Gunter back to main event on night 1. And then you can have the rest of your time. WrestleMania should be about titles and major major battles that have a meaning.
Yeah, and we just kind of shat on the Royal Rumble, right? Now the Rumble basically that we did all this build for got you the second to last match. Like, I agree with what Kilt's saying too. Yeah, that's I don't know.
Yeah, so Jay and Charlotte are not main eventing WrestleMania, which is usually what the Rumble winner tends to do, is they usually end up main eventing. But you know what? I'm still excited for these 2 matches. And like I said before, we are also getting Randy and KO on night 1. So that's going to be fun. But the only other piece of news I have, and really it's not news, but for the 6th WrestleMania in the row, The Weeknd has one of his songs as the official theme for WrestleMania. Of all the Weeknd songs you could have picked from his most recent album, they had to pick the one with Playboy Cardi. I'm just like, okay.
What kind of deal did he get to get 6 in a row?
Literally, since WrestleMania 38, we had, okay, so to give you the order, it went Blinding Lights, then Timeless, then, the next 3 years. I'm surprised that Sacrifice has not been a wrestling theme for one of these pay-per-views, because that one would be slapping. But yeah, for the 6th WrestleMania in a row, The Weeknd has his song Timeless with Playboy Cardi as the official theme song. And I'm just like, what kind of satanic deal did WWE and The Weeknd make? Because boy is getting paid.
The Weeknd does one Super Bowl halftime show, and then WWE books him for 7 years. I mean, not bad, but
it's crazy out here. But now that officially brings us to the end of our Dual Dynasty review. We are 3 weeks away from Mania, so it's going to be crazy to see what the next 3 weeks look like. And stay tuned, because next Sunday, you're going to want to come back for our review show, because we will be revealing all the stuff we are doing leading into WrestleMania Hell Week. So all the stuff before Mania, the things of Mania, and the things after Mania. It is going to be a wild 2 weeks. But to kind of give you a preview of what is to come this week in terms of BC WrestlePod land, on Tuesday, the AEW crew will be back once again to review Dynamite and Collision, which both shows were pretty fantastic, as well as be making our predictions of the matches announced so far for AEW Dynasty, because Dynasty is next Sunday, which is crazy. On Wednesday, you can catch the NXT and CMLL crew review their respective shows, with NXT, as we are 3 weeks away from Stand and Deliver, the biggest NXT pay-per-view of the year, and CMLL is also gearing up for a big show happening next Saturday in America, which is fantastic. On Thursday, a day we normally don't do reviews, you can catch myself and Andrew, and honestly, whoever else wants to join us, to review Progress Wrestling's most recent show, Fix Your Hearts. We will be reviewing craziness. Did Simon Miller walk out still as Proteus champion in a dog fight rules match where anything can be used as long as it comes from the store of a pet, from the pet store?
Where was Simon Miller? Why was he not security at this event? We know he knows how to get to the O2. What's going on?
The security, I did recognize a couple of the Progress wrestlers, which was fantastic to watch.
Where's
but yes,
Simon?
No Simon Miller, which is crazy.
Was he doing the what culture thing so he couldn't go work security? I would have bailed.
I guess so. But that is what me and Andrew will be up to on Thursday, because there's a lot of good matches for Progress coming from the Electric Ballroom. On Friday, you can catch myself and the rest of the TNA crew as we talk TNA, as we are also 4 weeks away from their next big pay-per-view, which is Rebellion, which I'm super excited for. And then close out the week with us on Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, as myself and Adolfo do a live watch-along for MLW's Battle Riot pay-per-view. 40 men enter the ring, and only one of them will walk out as MLW World Heavyweight Champion. Will Matthew Riddle be able to defend his championship against 39 other men and women? Because this is a co-ed thing. This is going to be great. Also, there's some fun matches announced. Just come by and watch this with us. The pay-per-view is free on YouTube. Like, MLW shows put all these shows on for free on YouTube to watch. It's great. But that is going to be it for us here at Dual Dynasty. Thank you so much for tuning in. From myself, the Professor, Kilt, In Spirit, Minnie, and the rest of the BC Wrestle Pod family. Remember, take care of yourself. Love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you later this week for more wrestling goodness, but until then, sayonara, adios, and we'll catch you later.